You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Okay, we're on the clock, and you are passing time with us, a Detroit Lions podcast. And I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
This is episode 18. Getting after it for 18 episodes. Big podcast today.
Yeah, we've got a lot to go over.
On this episode of Passing Time, we're going to talk about the big roster shakeups in Motown today. Quick thoughts?
Oh, man, there's a lot of going on, a lot of question marks, but overall, I like what we did.
Yeah. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell are back at it with some roster gymnastics, as they say, as the kids say.
Might be the smartest guys in the room, so.
Yeah, well, maybe they think they are.
They think they are, yeah.
The Lions claimed a few new faces off waivers, brought in a special teams ace, Daniel Thomas, made a few cuts. They have some people wondering, what do we actually know about this team, and what don't we know?
We'll have to figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We're going to talk a lot about that.
Yep.
We'll hit our signature segment, what we think we know, what we think we don't know.
Yep.
And trust me, there's plenty of unknowns.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's some knowns where we're like, yeah, we've been nailing that if you followed the past 17 podcasts or 6 podcasts. We'll talk around the NFL. Some interesting moves other teams have made. Guys that they've gotten rid of, guys that have signed. The James Houstons of the world that have made rosters.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. Does Bill got any bullet points today?
He's got bullet points today. We'll go over those as well.
Yeah, it's always my favorite segment. We'll get into with the Bears. They said goodbye to a second rounder. We're pissed off about third rounders.
I know.
They're saying goodbye to a second rounder. Packers made some depth moves at receiver. Vikings made some moves, and our favorite hooker is gonna be waiting a new corner.
Oh,
yeah.
Sounds like we got a lot to cover.
So buckle up. Roster season is messy. Overreactions are flying high.
Oh, crazy.
And right around the corner, we're going to get real far into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Also, just shout out to football being back. We're recording this on Wednesday night. I know there was week 0 college football last year. But if you think about kind of going forward, tomorrow, there's some decent college games.
Let's go.
Wisconsin plays tomorrow. You get into Friday night. You got the Spartans are playing Friday night.
Yeah.
There's a couple, there's a handful of pretty decent games. I mean, if you're passing time in a different way. Saturday, it's a big slate. You got Ohio State, Texas in the morning game. There's a big afternoon Alabama, somebody. The night game is LSU, Clemson. I mean, there's a Sunday night college game. Football's back. And
if you're a psychopath like us, man, you're fully into it. You're wading in, so let's go.
Yeah, so I had to say, I kissed my kids goodnight and goodbye for football season. I said, I'll see you in like 24 weeks, kids. So I measured their heights in the wall. I'm like, this is pre-football season. Like, I'm gonna measure it afterwards and see what I missed.
Oh, I love it.
That's gonna be great. But I think first we should get into the 53 man.
Yes,
right, and talk a little bit about that.
I mean, that's the hottest topic right now. Lions just went through their cuts. They just re-signed guys after that 24-hour waiting period to their practice squad. There were guys that we thought that we were going to see there. There's some guys that we didn't know that was going to come on there. And overall, they did do their gymnastics. I mean, they should have stretched beforehand. Let me tell you that. So.
No doubt. So it was, I would say, strategic roster trimming, right? Cut it down to 50.
Yes.
Got below the number. Brian, you want to talk a little bit how that works and what kind of tomfoolery that
Well, I mean, there's a couple things that you look at there, and I guess the most glaring ones were the guys that we thought, oh man, he's going to make the roster. It's a no-brainer. Guys like Skip, guys like Nate Lynn are not on that roster, but then guys like Hassani, who we had question marks about, he was banged up. They're going to use one of their 2 spots for injury, but with return. And they decided to give him an injury settlement and kind of roll the dice. Ultimately, I mean, it was a bit of a gamble, and I guess it paid off.
Yeah. So, isn't there a T-shirt out there Gamble with Campbell or something like that. So, yeah, they're used to doing some of that.
Holmes has got to get his own one, right, too. He's got to have something because this guy he seems to be pushing the right buttons in regards to this initial roster and how to manipulate it, how to do those gymnastics. He's not just the cut and dry. Here's our 53. Here's our 16 on the practice squad. Nope, he is trying to build an entire team of 69, and that's what's I think is going to help this team, come later in the season.
So. Yeah. So, given flexibility to future moves, which we'll talk in a little bit about some of the moves that they made on bringing guys in. A little bit thin in the secondary. There's only 8 DBs that made the cut. Yeah, they did add another one that hasn't played a ton of DB, more of a special teams ace.
Special teams ace. But again, the cool thing that I start to see with the Lions is that versatility that they really, really appreciate. Guys like Maddox who can play both corner, outside corner, maybe even slot corner as well as safety. Guys like Rocky Sin who I think they just started trying out at safety this year, and he can excel. I mean, the guy has shown out throughout those 4 preseason games. I mean, he's one of those highlights that we're like, okay, we got something here. I mean, he was a guy that kind of like he bounced around a little bit, and he found a home here in Detroit. So
versatility,
yeah,
it's trendy, right? Like so, trends come in and out, right? Like when I was in 7th and 8th grade, you could buy a pair of Jenko jeans, and you were the cool kid, man. If you're a little bit poor like me, you had Lee pipes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
and during the wintertime, the Lee pipes would go over your shoes, your boots, and they'd drag, and they get salt on the bottom of them. And those things were in style, right? And then you fast forward like a decade or decade and a half, and then all of a sudden, guys are wearing jeans so tight, they look like what the girls' jeans were wearing, right? Like,
I don't want to see that.
You got the moose knuckle. I mean, you're fully exposed in the male jeans right now. But you see the trend going back to the baggy stuff now, right? So
this is your point, Rob.
This is going to make some sense because a long time ago in the NFL, you had guys playing 2 ways.
Yes.
You had guys playing offense, defense. You had your quarterback that would do some punting duties. You had versatility, right? And then all of a sudden, you got super specialty. Like this dude played this spot and this spot only. On first down, he rushed the passer on this situation. They came off the field. And now we're starting to see guys that are being versatile again. You got a number 2 overall draft pick that's going to play half his time on defense and half his time on offense. So versatility is in right now, boys.
It's back, and I think the Lions really look at the versatility, whether it's offensive line, whether it's defensive line, whether it's DB. The Derek Barnes who can rush a passer as well as play that middle backer. These are guys that have multiple positions and they can fill multiple spots. And ideally, it allows us to be, one, more threatening on the defensive side of the ball or even offensive side of the ball. But 2, it allows that roster to be built in a certain way that we can get the best 53 guys on game day and, really attack teams.
So. Puka shell necklaces, belly button rings, and
frosted tips, right?
Frosted tips,
right?
Maybe a tramp stamp. It all comes full circle. So versatility, we're talking. Speaking of versatility, Smoochie is Darius Smith. He's had a good offseason of doing his thing.
I mean, Belize and Cash Doll, and is he going to be a Lion?
He's going to be a Lion, right? It's just they've left the edge open, right? And that's one thing we've noticed on the 53-man.
52 man right now, right? We've narrowed it down to 52 men.
You just gave me your Lee Corso not so fast, my friend.
Well, not so fast, right? We have one spot available, and this is before that there's any more gymnastics. Are we cutting guys? Are we bringing guys on? Those guys that think they can breathe a sigh of relief that they made the team, and then maybe another guy comes up that's just a little bit better than them. So,
well, let's talk about one of those guys, Tim Patrick. He was hometown guy, Detroit guy, made the roster. There was some speculation. We speculated. A lot of people were speculating. Probably thought he was in. Probably thought he was going to be a Lion.
I thought he was,
and he was until
Tesla showed out in the last 4 weeks. This guy has done nothing but do what Dan Campbell wants his young guys to do, and that's improve. Right? He wants guys that continue to grow each and every week, and that's what this guy's. I mean, we haven't even come close to scratching the surface. I mean, you're hearing comparisons to Tesla like Puka Nacua. And if you are thinking that you add a Puka Nacua to an Amon-Ra and a JMO and a Sam Laporta and a Gibbs and a Monty and Oh my gosh, I'm kind of getting excited here.
Yeah, as long as they can stay healthy, right? Because this
Yes.
is it's a tight depth chart right now.
Sure.
Which I'm so happy Meeks is going to be
Practice
around
squad.
There, right?
He's staking around.
Yep. So that could be a guy that you're going to see.
Tom Kennedy. Don't forget about Tom.
He's
perennial practice squad Lion. So
we don't talk about him in the same light that we talk Skip about, but like they're very similar. They've been just through the ringer with roster gymnastics,
and they've just been hanging out and continue to grind and fill spots when they need to fill, and they ultimately are there when you need them. You need a reliable slot guy. You're calling Tom Kennedy,
or you're plugging in Isaac Tesla.
Yeah, there might be that too. So,
special teams out with an ace, in with an ace, right? So Anthony Pittman was a kind of a surprising cut.
Yeah. But he comes back on our practice squad. Which is awesome. But you have a Grant Stewart who is going to be an amazing fill-in for that constant, special teams. He's at four core. I mean, he's returning kicks for God's sake.
Yeah, it's incredible. And he's going to do the Head and Shoulders commercial next, right? Like
him and Anzalone side by side, right?
Yeah. Palomalu's kind of aged out of that role, a little bit over the years. And there's been some cool media sessions. The Green Light podcast with Long and Dan Campbell, and just incredible stuff, man. Like we have just this coach, just a good human being. Like he's a football junkie, but he's ours, right?
And he's ours. And every time you hear this guy speak, he speaks with passion. He's genuine. He loves this team. He loves the city. He loves the fans. He loves you and I. And this is a guy that we all rally around, and I get goosebumps just thinking about like what he has to offer. And I don't think we talk about him enough. So
they talked a little bit about like he's got Southern roots, but he's just like, man, Detroit is my home. But like these fans have been through everything, just like me, and we're in the trenches together. You just want to play for a coach like that.
You do. You do. I mean, 100% you do. And you can see it. You see guys coming to Detroit year after year because of Dan Campbell. I mean, you saw maybe the St. Brown podcast and Panay, and you talked about when Panay was drafted, like, what was Detroit? It was nothing. It was garbage, right? Who wanted to come to Detroit? Panay didn't want to come to Detroit because it was garbage. He wanted to come to Detroit because of Dan Campbell.
Yeah. And before that, Amon-Ra said, I didn't like Detroit was the last team I wanted to come to.
Yeah.
Right? And now he was eager to sign his contract.
Yeah, he's not leaving. Detroit, he wants to stay. He knows what we're in the brink of. And, we're there. We're close.
Detroit's pretty far away from the Samoan Islands. It's pretty far away from Southern California.
That's right.
But we've dragged some guys there, and you can't get them out.
Nope.
Right? And that's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
Let's talk about a couple of new additions. Tyler Lacey, Tyrus Wheat, and Daniel Thomas. So all new additions to the 53 or 52, as Brian likes to say.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Lacey went to Oklahoma State. Is a fourth rounder by Jacksonville. Versatile. He's got experience lining up on both inside and on the edge. It gives lines flexibility all across the line, which you talk about versatility.
We want,
right?
We want versatility, right?
He's got a puka shell and a tramp stamp, right?
Yeah.
Athletic build, almost 300 pounds, 280, 6'4". He's got physical tools. The knock on him is he doesn't get a lot of sacks.
The Lions, you ask Brad Holmes, and he's like, okay, sacks are nice. Mm-hmm. Sacks are great. This team is built on stopping the run. It's built on that interior D-line. It's built on the trenches up front, and they wanted to grind it out because they want to get to third and long because guess what? It's easier to do when you know what they're going to do. Yeah. It's easier to rush the passer when you know they're going to pass.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of reading between the lines here why he was cut. Believe it or not, Jacksonville's got a lot of depth on their D-line, and they wanted some guys that could get to the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And over his 8 starts, he hadn't shown that ability yet. And maybe in Detroit's line, they can unlock something. Or they say, hey, we don't need that necessarily. We got the 2 best DNs in the NFC.
And let's be honest, Hutch he's a cheat code, right? And so if you can get guys that eat up the middle,
integrity.
If you get guys that can just anchor and attack two dudes at once and free one person up. I mean, you look at Ndamukong Suh and what he was offered DeAndre Levy.
Yes, that makes total sense. If you disagree with that, comment, like, subscribe, listen, and be a friend of the pod.
And maybe we'll talk about Suh's distaste for the Lions later, but
Tyrus Wheat went to Mississippi State for 2 years after a couple years at community college. Undrafted, 2023, signed as a free agent by the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
A special teams guy.
He's this versatile guy too. I mean, he's an edge, maybe even a Sam, type, like linebacker type. But playing that special teams is huge for the Lions. Again, we talk about these three phases. The special teams is a huge part of what the Lions believe in.
Yep.
And if you can win those hidden yards in special teams, you're going to win games.
Yeah. So they kept James Houston. Right, and then
the Dallas Cowboys kept James Houston.
Yeah,
you know what I was getting at. Yep, and we took Wheat.
Yep. So Lions, they need some depth. Jumped in, claimed him. Lastly, another Jacksonville Jaguar, Daniel Thomas.
Yep.
Kind of we got a draft pick and Daniel Thomas, right?
Because
this was a move that they had to make. He's a gunner, right? Special teams ace.
Another one of those, again, hidden yard guys. He offers, a little bit of depth in the safety spot, which I think we're thin at. But special teams, I mean, he's a four-core special team guy.
Yep. Reunites with our special teams coach was his special teams coach. So he knows the scheme, he knows the terminology, and he can go out there and maybe lead some other guys like, hey, this is what we're looking for here. This is the gap. This is the assignment.
Yep.
This is the way we're coaching special teams. A good addition.
I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm terribly excited about the three additions, but at the same time, like if we're offering depth and they're better than the guys that we were looking at on our practice squad, then amazing, But I'm still itching because we have 52 guys. I'm still itching for that 53rd.
Yeah. So get some calamine lotion and sit back, buddy. It might be a week or two, but we're gonna get that good news. All right.
Yeah.
Dan Skipper, we talked a little bit about it. Manu, Jones, Hassanin. I mean, these are all some of the roster gymnastics. Do you want to kind of put a bow on that part?
Sure. I mean, Dan Skipper came back to be on our practice squad. You hear things on X and you hear things online that he was just like it's a handshake and a wink, or it's performance based. Because Dan Skipper did not have a great preseason. He did not have a great training camp. You looked at what he was facing. It was Aiden Hutchinson and Davenport, and he was getting beat.
Yeah.
And so whether he deserved a spot or did not, the trick is now after Dan Skipper goes to the practice squad and we keep a guy like Jones and Manu, are those guys ready to step into that number 3 O-tackle role?
Well, if they're not, right? If they go out there and it's trial by fire when the lights come on, right? It's a different game. And if they're not, Dan Campbell has a guy that he's already been to war with. Right?
100%. Yep.
And it's an easy call. I think Dan Skipper is the equivalent of a 4A player in baseball, right? Where you're gonna call him up, you're gonna put him down, you're gonna call him up, and he's gonna be a guy that you can come up.
And injuries are going to hit this team at some point. At some point, there's going to be one guy that gets nicked up, and they're going to call Dan Skipper up, and he's going to be there for longer than a week. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
What we think we do know about the Detroit Lions segment.
I'm sorry, before you get on there, I do want to touch base on Hassanin because that to me it stressed me out a little bit because I liked this guy.
Skipped over that.
We did. I know. Hey, no worries. I like this guy, and the Lions kind of rolled the dice on Hassanin, and it worked out. They gambled and they were successful because Hassanin they put on injury or they gave him an injury settlement. So for 24 hours, if he was claimed by any other team, the team would have had to put him on their 53 or put him on IR. So they would have wasted one of their IR spots on him. Now, Who knows when Hassanin is necessarily going to be back? We're not sure. But because he made it through those waiver wires, he's now claimed by the Lions, but he's not part of their roster. So he's not part of their practice squad, and he's not part of their 53-man roster. So it allows them, and he's not impacting their IR. So it allows them to let him, heal, allow him to train, and when he completes that, he can come right back to be part of the Lions.
All right, and he can still seek out the best garlic sauce in Detroit.
And he can do that.
Yeah. So I know that's important.
No.
All right, so now.
Now. Sorry. So what we know.
And we don't know what the best garlic sauce in Detroit is, but we do know that this is a loaded roster.
It's a loaded roster. You hear Dan talk about this in his presser. He's like, this is the best roster that he has been a part of since he's come to Detroit.
Yeah. And we talk around, a couple of these fringe guys that we just signed or we just released, but we didn't talk about how loaded the ones are and some twos are.
Dude.
So it's a blessing to put a couple guys in that really fit a certain role to complement some of the stars that we have in this team.
You talk about overreactions, and you talk about guys stressing out online, or you as a viewer stressing out online. You have to remember, you haven't even seen the ones yet.
Yeah.
You haven't even seen them yet.
Yeah.
These guys are good. Okay. These guys are good. And you're going to get your talking heads talking about how the Lions are going to take a step back and they're going to regress, or because we have a new a coordinator on both sides of the ball, like they're not going to be nearly as good. This team is good.
This team won 15 games, right? And I know we got a sour taste in our mouth from the last game.
Yes.
Right. But it is very difficult to go through an NFL season and win 15 games. I mean, ask the Lions team that went through a whole season without winning a game.
It's hard to do that too.
It's very difficult. It might be harder to lose every game than it is to win 15 games. And both are very impressive, right? In their own crazy ways. But a loaded roster, wide receiver wise, we've been talking about Tesla since the draft in all forms and fashions. And I think our tilt on Tesla has been an optimistic one. And we hoped that it would come to this at some point in the middle of the year, at the end of the year. But the Lions are basically stamping it right now, the start of the year.
The start of the year. And you might see a little bit more Khalif Raymond to begin the year. But week 1, you're going to see a little bit of Tesla. And week 2, you're probably going to see a little bit more Tesla. In week 3, he's going to be a major contributor to this team.
Yeah, it's exciting. The draft, swing big sometimes. Big swings create home runs. They also create some misses. So Roderick Martin, Hendon Hooker, they were misses, right?
They were misses. They're off. They're on to them greener pastures.
Yeah,
change of scenery, as Dan talks about, and hopefully that works out for them.
So the first thing you think about after missing on a couple third rounders and they go up and they take this goofy white guy from Division II that played a little bit at Arkansas, slightly misused at wide receiver. The numbers didn't pop out, is like, oh boy, and Manu still hasn't like fully panned out. You're just kind of like, man, like what's it with the third round? They're just really taking these big uppercuts, and it feels like a lot of misses. But man, if you go 1 for 4 in the third round and that one becomes an instant impact guy, like that's probably pretty good.
I agree. And you hear talk, and we haven't seen it yet. So nothing is proven, and we're just fans loving the Lions. But at the same point, you're seeing comparisons between a Tesla and a Puka Nacua. And if you're telling me that that's the case, I'm in.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What we also know is, we touched on a little bit, is guys want to be in Detroit. They want to stay in Detroit. They want to play for Dan Campbell. This is an it organization.
And he talks about like that cut day being the hardest day of the year. Like he and Brad talk about it, and they debate and they go over it, and they get input from the rest of their coaches. But ultimately, they're going to be honest and upfront, and they're going to tell their players the way it is. And I think that's appreciated. Whether they're going to be a part of that roster or given the ability to move on, these guys are willing to say, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of the the Lions organization, whether it's the practice squad or the 53-man roster, because they know even if they're part of the practice squad, they're going to contribute at some point, because that part of the team is just as important, maybe not just as important, but important enough to be pulled up, and they're going to know they're going to be pulled up at least 3 times a year. So
yeah, we talked a little bit off camera, and then actually the St. Brown's brothers talked about this on their podcast, how draft capital kind of stays with you at least throughout the first half of your career, maybe through your whole career, where if you're drafted high, teams are going to give you the benefit of the doubt, right? So it's very hard for a coach and a GM that vouch for third rounders, 2 years ago to say, we're going to sever ties with you, and we're going to keep guys that were unsigned free agents, guys were signed off of other practice squads. So it's a big vouch of validation for the GM to say, you know what, my pride isn't too big. We're going to say see you later to these guys.
And they're looking at getting better. That to me, that's a great feeling that Brad Holmes is willing. I mean, I get Brad Holmes wants his guys to hit, but to be able to go to a Lacey and say, hey, you're better than Broderick Martin. We're going to cut ties with a guy I drafted because he has not developed, and we're going to willing to at least take a chance on this guy.
Yeah. What we don't know, still, until we see it, the coaching staff is going to be a little bit of a question mark. We can believe in it, right? And certainly Dan Campbell believes in it. On the Green Light podcast, he talked about how excited he knew that Kelvin Shepherd was a head coach when he was coaching him a long time ago.
It's crazy.
The way he communicated, the way he interacted with the players, the way the players followed him when he was a player. He knew that.
You're getting me fired up, man. You're getting me fired up.
Yeah. Johnny Morton. He talks about how they've had the same route through coaching, different experiences, right? Going back to Sean Payton, running the same offense, the same principles, the same philosophy. He's like, I had 3 really good candidates to come in here and be an offensive coordinator, and he's like, I got the guy I wanted.
Got the guy you wanted. So at the very least, it should ease our minds that Dan has the guys that he wanted. And let's not forget, if something doesn't work out, Dan's not afraid to cut ties and move on. He's a humble enough person to know when things aren't working and he has to make a change. You look at back early on when we had Lynn, and he's like, nope, this isn't working. Let's cut. But I'll take on the responsibilities. He's not a dumb guy. And he was able to have some success in that back half of that season. So
he's everything you want in a coach, right?
Yep.
Trust in Brad Holmes. What we don't know, in round 3, do we trust in Brad Holmes? Like, ultimately, do you trust in Brad Holmes?
When you talk about like the Hassanin, like gamble, and it works out. And then you look at guys like Tesla, and I mean, we don't know if it's working out yet, but it's looking good. But then you weigh that against the projects or the Hendon Hookers. Like, I trust in Brad Holmes. Because of the Jahmyr Gibbs, because of the Jack Campbell, because of the J-Mos, because of the Brian Branches and the Sam Laportas and the Panay Sewells and the Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, we could do this all day. If you looked at that top 100 list, that's 7 guys in the Detroit Lions that made that top 100. And I'm going to tell you, Brian Branch got snubbed. So that could have been 8.
Yeah.
All right. That's where we're living right now. Is we're living in a world that we are talking about Pro Bowls and All Pros, and if we don't hit on every pick, then we're upset.
Oh, you're getting fired up.
Woo!
Okay, so it doesn't feel like the Bob Quinn, Jelani Tavai, like where you're like, man, like this feels like, you know what? Like they have a plan. They know what they're doing. They're looking for doubles and triples in the first round and maybe in the second round, and they might swing for a home run later on, but they're getting their guys up top that are hitting more often than they're missing, and they're just looking, okay, we have these other 4 picks, and out of these 4 picks, man, if we can get one of these guys to be a starter, we're hitting.
And if you followed our pods and we went through the last 10 days of first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round picks, those picks are all Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what we're living in right now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the good ones were, right? So we also talked a lot about the bad ones, and a lot of those bad ones we're also Brad Holmes, right? Like,
Okay.
So we've had some duds there, but that's okay because if you're all the good ones and you're all the bad ones, and you have 7 rounds in a draft, sometimes 8, 9 picks, that's okay because not all these guys are going to make the roster.
Absolutely. And if you look at the roster that we've created, I mean, you've looked at it. I mean, if you're watching this podcast, you've looked at the 53 man, and you know the 16 guys, 15 guys that we have on our practice squad right now. This is a good roster.
Yeah. So the last thing I think we don't know, we're putting a lot of trust in a couple of rookies this year, right? Maybe a few rookies that we talked already. You know, Isaac Tesla. He's had a good portion of this pod.
He's exciting.
Tyleek and Ratledge we are putting a lot of stock for the success of this team this year and those 2 guys.
So we talked about Tesla, but there's a safety net underneath Tesla, right? If he doesn't necessarily work out, we're fine. If Tesla doesn't work out, if the lights are a little bit too bright for him, we're okay still. That's a really good room and wide receiver. If Ratledge does not work out, that's more of a concern. If Tyleek doesn't work out, that's more of a concern, right?
Yeah.
And so we're really putting a lot of stock in some young guys.
Yeah, and those guys, they need to make an impact, not later on in the year.
Right away. Green Bay is coming soon.
Yes. Winter is coming.
Yes.
So let's swing it around the NFL and talk about some NFL headlines and some notable cuts out there. So Cole Strange gets the boot in New England. Former first-round pick, a foundational piece to that Patriots team, is getting the axe.
I think Vrabel's trying to put his stamp on this roster. He's making this thing his own. He wants his guys, and he wants a culture fit. So
pedigree doesn't guarantee you safety anymore in New England.
Not anymore.
He's a very Dan Campbell-esque type guy, right? So very, very similar. Cut from the same NFL player cloth, right? Giants cut Greg Dulcich, who had a great preseason. Let him in touchdowns, let him in receptions. Looked like he was going to make the squad. He's gone.
He's going to get picked up. I mean,
he already did. So fast forward, he's going to the Dolphins practice squad right away. So yeah,
practice squad.
So he's a guy that wasn't going to sit on the radar for
right. Oh no, right? Nope.
Travis and Taylor get engaged. We've talked a little bit about that. She's got a nice little
cute.
rock. Yeah, very
so cute.
Timing
of that was kind of interesting too, because the announcement came on cut day, but apparently this happened a couple weeks ago. So that's what I've heard.
All right. Well,
speculation wise,
the secret lives of superstars.
Yeah,
what they're all about. Yeah, I don't fully get it. Kyle Hamilton becomes the highest paid safety ever. We've talked about our guy who was the highest paid safety. Now it superseded that.
Quick lived. And again, if you go back to that same Brown podcast, he talks a little bit about how he was the highest paid wide receiver for about 20 hours before he was surpassed.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we are the best podcast that's currently podcasting right now in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right? Like
until the next one.
Yeah. Until somebody's, around the corner starting on up in 5 minutes.
Right.
But 4-year, $100 million extension, shattering the record of really it's $82 million guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
So this is the richest safety in league history.
So do you think that impacts us re-signing guys like Brian Branch at all?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely, right? So but let's go back to Brad Holmes and the way that he's building this team. So and let's compare these 2 players and these 2 contracts a little bit. So Kyle Hamilton, 4-year, $100 million deal, 82 guaranteed, 25.1 per year on average. Kicks in after 2026, runs through 2030. A couple of years older than Kirby Joseph.
Yeah.
Okay? Kirby Joseph, Detroit Lions, 4-year, 86. 36 of that is guaranteed. That's about half of what Kyle Hamilton's guaranteed, right? 21.5 average per year. Structured with options, flexibilities, void years. Hamilton's is a straight, it's a straight like Excel spreadsheet, this dollar amount, this dollar amount, this dollar amount. If you void the contract, it's dead money. Detroit's is a very complex structure, right? To give the Lions flexibility in the future.
So Brad Holmes has been doing this. I think. I mean, you look back on all of his renegotiations, his contracts that he has signed, and it may make you like cringe initially because they become the highest paid whatsoever for about 20 hours. And then the next guy up gets more and it makes you feel a little bit better. And then the next guy up gets more and it makes you feel a little bit better. So we were cringing a little bit about Kirby Joseph and how they paid him all this money. And now you're starting to see it. It is making you feel a little bit better about the ability to Brad Holmes to negotiate these contracts and get guys for what turns out to be a reasonable cost. The reality is like everybody when they're up, they're going to be the highest paid. It's going to be their turn, and they're going to be the guy in the spotlight. And we've drafted so well that we have a lot of guys that are going to be in the spotlight. But if we do it right, so my goal, I would love to see Hutch get his payday right now before Micah Parsons, before Trey Hendrickson, before those guys get theirs, because it's going to make me feel like, ooh, that was a lot right now, but it's going to make me feel a lot better as those contracts get signed after him.
Yeah, and the lines are smart. So, like,
yep.
I love my analogies, my
no
barrels, but like if you're out there building a house, right? And in the last few years, we've seen tariffs, we've seen price of lumber go up and down, and windows, right? If you're out there building a house and your contractor comes up to you and says, "Hey, listen," and you have a good contractor, he's like, "Dude, the price of lumber is going up next month, huge. Do you want to lock in at this rate right now, or do you want to wait until lumber goes up 20% in a month?" Right? What are you going to do, Brian?
It's a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer.
So the Lions are kind of thinking about when they're building their foundation, their house.
They're building their house.
They're trying to lock in that price before it gets set to a new level, right?
And it's continually gets reset and reset and reset. So the sooner we rip that Band-Aid off, the sooner we lock that in, the better we're going to be.
But agents are smart too.
Yeah,
they're seeing what the Lions are doing.
They are,
and it's a lot of smart people in a room, and sometimes they're not very smart people though. You've seen some GMs make some really boneheaded things.
They do, but I mean, it does take two to tango, and ultimately, it's not just us saying, "Hey, Hutch, we're going to give you this price," or "Hey, Brian, we're going to give you this price," or "Hey, Jack, we're going to give you this price." It takes both sides to agree upon that. So,
Rashee Rice agreed to 6-game suspension. And I think this is good, not to drag it out, because if you're a competing team, serve it at the beginning of the year, and that's what he agreed to do. So he's going to start week 1. And if you don't remember, you probably do, but this dates back to a serious car accident he caused on the highway, fled the scene. So he's 30 days in jail, $115,000 in restitution. But this is going to be probably a little bit of a tough first 6 weeks. But the Chiefs played without him last year off an injury. So, I mean, they're versatile enough to kind of withstand this.
I mean, ultimately right now it's just going to probably impact your fantasy draft and make sure that you just, make him wait a round or two.
Yeah. If you got a good roster and you're competing, he's a stash guy. Yeah, for sure. So with that said, let's get into what Bill thinks, man.
Oh, Bill.
So what's the temperature on Bill?
Listen, when we just started, we had our first day of kids Wednesday. We had our first day of kids today. So he's exhausted.
Okay.
He's tired. But he's still giving me like the feedback. Wait.
Did you wait until after he got exosted to get his takes?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to see where he was at.
So you're getting like grumpy Bill takes.
I'm getting grumpy Bill takes. Right. Those are the best Bill takes.
Okay.
Well, why would I want to get happy, excited Bill takes? I want grumpy Bill takes.
Well, I got Brian after the kids today too, so I get grumpy Brian too. You get grumpy Brian takes. Yeah.
Fair. So listen, Bill has some good things. I mean, he has a love for this roster. He thinks that we did it right, top to bottom. Thinks we've missed on a couple guys, right? We still are missing on a quarterback, and I think that quarterback is to come. The practice squad quarterback.
Okay.
I think he's also wondering what happened to Kennelly. Kennelly as a safety, he showed out in the preseason. He's worked hard. He thinks that he earned his spot, and most of us might agree. If you're a psychopath, you probably agree too.
Yeah, well, if we had Christopher Robbins bullet points, who's a friend of the pod, he would talk about Kennelly too. He was gushing for Kennelly, right? So like, it makes sense.
And we're West Side guys, right? We're right around the corner from Grand Valley. We want to see a Kennelly make this squad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exciting, right? But he's not on the squad. He's not on the practice squad. Hopefully he finds a spot. Hopefully, for Kennelly's sake, I hope he finds a spot. And finally, like, where's Zadarius? Is he gonna be here? Are we waiting? Are we still manipulating this where we wait one more week before this happens? Are we gonna get him tomorrow? Are we gonna get him after week one? I know that there's these ideas that if you wait after week one, his contract's not fully guaranteed, and there's hopefully this, like, at least this manipulation of the contract and a manipulation of what we offer him. But that's where we're at. He's concerned about offensive tackle depth, and I think that's been pretty consistent from the beginning of build on to here. So
yeah, I mean, Bill's a trenches kind of guy, right?
Yes.
That's his personality.
Yep.
But when you talk about tackle depth, you might have one of the best, most experienced tackles on your practice squad, right? So that's got to alleviate some of that concern.
Listen, when we got Skip back, that made him feel better. Okay, that made him feel better. So
yeah, the kids coming back made him feel worse, but Skipper coming. So this is
where
Bill's at.
That's where he's at. This balance.
Yeah. So let's kick it around the north. Let's go to Green Bay. That's going to be the first the challenge that the Lions face. So Micah Robinson, a 7th-round pick. A lot of headlines with this guy, a speedster. Just couldn't stick quite in coverage, but a ton of upside. Just didn't play like the vanilla style that the Packers like to play. And it's the Packers' whole philosophy is like it's just very like you got to do the basics. They don't care a ton about super high upside. They just want high floor kind of guys, right? Like so he's out of there. They added Nick Neiman, who's recently released by Houston, just played the Lions.
Yeah.
He was familiar with their scheme, their special teams. Not a big notable thing there. The Bears.
Oh, the Bears.
They cut Zach Pickens. Some health issues. People are giving Ryan Poles crap about this because this is one of his draft picks. High capital draft pick, a second rounder is now gone, right? He was 64th overall, or third rounder, 64th overall in the third round by the Chicago Bears. So beginning of the third round. Pre-draft buzz, Todd McShay called that the best pick in the NFL draft, best value pick in the NFL draft.
And apparently not.
Apparently not. He's gone now.
Have you seen, speaking of the Bears a little bit, have you seen some of the spotlights on Ben being too hard on his players right now?
I've not, Brian.
Oh, it's an interesting dynamic right now. Is Ben Johnson demanding too much of his players? Is he calling them out in the media too much? Is he not allowing them to grow under his system with like his support? It's an interesting take on how you want to motivate your players.
Ben doesn't have the prototypical hard ass kind of DNA, right?
Yeah.
He has more of he looks like a softer, quieter guy. So when you try to be something that you're not, it might come off a little unauthentic, and it might be a little bit more repelling than if a Dan Campbell came off that same way.
We'll see how that works out for him and his squad.
Culture takes a little bit to build. You can't come in and say, this is the new culture. You got to conform to this. You got to go in there and be at everybody's mercy and say, hey, I'm here. You were here first. Or we're building this together. We're going to build this culture together. You can't come in and just demand things without earning that respect around the locker room. So
that's right.
Interesting. Bears a little thin at running back. There's a lot of rumors out there that they're going to look for one of the veterans that was cut to kind of sign and add them to their squad.
And I'm hearing DJ Moore is spending more and more time in the backfield rather than he is at wide receiver. So
that's fascinating. Yeah. Also, Luther Burden can play that same role too. Luther Burden, he carried the ball quite a bit in Missouri. Both guys are just they're extreme weapons, right? Like they probably could line up in the backfield. They could play the slot, or they can probably go out wide.
Right.
And return kicks, punts. They got good problems over there, but
Sure.
one of their bad problems is DeAndre Swift is their number one running back, and that, that's tough. So the Vikings, they cut Brett Rippon, Cam Gill, both released. Thanks but no thanks to backup quarterback options, but they signed Carson Wentz.
It makes me question a little bit. Like
Sam Howell gone.
It just like when you sign a guy like Carson Wentz, you sign him because you're concerned a little bit. You want a backup plan.
Do you?
I do. I sign a Carson Wentz who has experience, who has had success, and ultimately he's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah,
because I may just have question marks.
He had success back when the lead pipes were still in style, Brian. Like that version of lead pipes aren't coming back, man. Like the waistline doesn't fit anymore, man. He's not the same Carson Wentz that had success. Right?
That's fair. That's fair.
I think that Sam Howell is a little bit of fool's gold. I think, he got a little bit of run in Washington. I wouldn't even say success. I mean, he was average. Seattle signed him saying like, hey, maybe we can get some lightning in the bottle. They were like, thanks, but no thanks. And I think Minnesota got Sam Howell. And they were like, oh, we thought we had something a little bit better here.
Okay.
We don't. And yeah, they do have a quarterback that was hurt all last year that hasn't proven anything. So you want something that has a little bit of track record. Let's not. If they wanted to solve the problem, they could package a third round draft pick to Atlanta Falcons. They can go get Kirk Cousins.
That's fair, and I'm sure Kurt would stroll back with with a smile on his face,
and a flannel shirt,
probably Patagonia.
They also quietly signed Adam Thielen. Who that's a good
classic.
Yeah.
Are we still going back?
Yeah. You know what? Like he's more of the Jenko jeans, not the lead pipe version. When the girls would put the little like Playboy bunny and go tanning and a little bit more cool than the lead pipes.
It?
Well, it was, Brian. It was. The blonde tips, they were cool, man.
They were.
The earrings, one here, and one here. That was.
Yeah, when you convince yourself that was cool.
It was cool until I went to my grandpa's house for Christmas, and he was like, "What the heck are you doing with earrings on?" He made me take them off at the door, and I'm like, "Hey, Grandpa, like I have to keep this in for 6 weeks, otherwise they're going to close up." He's like, "Well, then I'm doing you a favor." I'm like, "Oh man!" I shoved those bastards back in there the second I left his house. It all worked out.
That's Adam Thielen.
It all worked out. That's Adam Thielen. Oh boy. So that's really it. Is there anything else that you want to kind of hit on or press upon?
Listen, I do want to say I went on a podcast last week, Thursday, Talking Grit. That's a great group of guys. We've talked about them on the pod before. Check out that video. It was fun to do a little collaboration. We're going to try to get them on our pod at some point too. But ultimately, we want to continue to grow. So please like, subscribe, check us out on social media.
Also, go like, subscribe their podcast too. So they're not just
informational. Not just the one that I was on.
Not just Brian just trying to promote himself.
But the whole thing. They do a good job. They're informed. They have some really good takes, and it was fun to be a part of.
Yeah. So I mean. Yeah, I let Brian step out on me. It's like giving him a hall pass. Like I feel like,
hey, listen, when I asked you to be a part, he's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you said I would talk too much, and I would throw them off their game. But we count the words here. I think you talk more than me.
I don't know. That's close.
So, all the social medias you see here. Please throw us a line. Let us know you're out there. Let us know who you are. Subscribe, listen. If you like some of the Brian shorts, let us know. That's important information.
It's fun.
But we really appreciate you passing time with us. This is a Detroit podcast, the Detroit Lions football talk. We are, a week away, plus a little bit.
We're ready to go. We're going to get into it. And Green Bay is on the doorstep.
Yeah. So cheers.
Here we go.
See you next time.